Yeah, my name is Brian. I am a competitive Splatoon player, and well, primarily, but I should probably mention as well, since it's more relevant for today, that I also do what we call overfishing, which is summer run. Except we try to get as many eggs as possible, basically.
Hmm. Yeah, so Brian is what many people would describe an expert in salmon run. So basically, the goal of today is we're going to go over this in two segments. We're going to be talking about one, everything that they've shown off in the new trailer and Brian's thoughts on it. And then secondly, we'll talk about brand new, maybe more drastic additions, things like customization or an endless mode. So we'll get to that. But for now, we're just going to start with a lot of the basic new information.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so first up, what about the new map? What are your thoughts on it so far? Does it look better than the previous ones? Is it hard to tell?
Ooh, yeah. So far, it's interesting. So they do seem to be taking a different approach to some degree. Because what they do a lot in Splatoon 2 right now is that a lot of the maps they have kind of like three lines, just all going to different sides of the map to really far spaces, which it's good and bad. Like the way that they design the maps right now in Splatoon 2 is fine, except for the fact where it can happen that one single far spawn happens, which
Hmm.
is like it just takes like 10 seconds to swim there and you just take 10 seconds to swim back, which can be a
Yeah.
problem.
I noticed that I think mainly the first map is probably a good example of it because it's very clearly cut into like three sections splitting away from mid and the spawns happen on those sides. So it's like, yeah, I can see that. But
Yeah,
do the
exactly.
spawns seem to be more like coming from everywhere now, or is it still like some condensed locations?
Yeah, for the new map that I've seen, it seems much more confined. Like, first of all, like one section of the map is already cut off, and the furthest part on the map is a lot closer, which I gotta say I really like. Because there's one map in particular in Splatoon 2, which is Smokeyard, which kind of has that design already, and it's by far the most consistent map because of that.
Hmm.
So I like that they seem to be taking a new direction where they stop having just like three like lines going everywhere, and then looking to be much more confined, which makes it more chaotic as well, I guess. But
Yeah, I think.
it's much. Yeah,
Go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, just saying like it's a much more like better for avoiding the RNG involved in this mode.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it looks better too, like them coming from more places or it being more at once. Like it definitely feels more like you're being swarmed sometimes. I think it feels like it's kind of linear, so I like that too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the meta we've seen, I'm very certain that it's only normal tide because there's like some random ramp on the map that has no use on the
Hmm.
trailer, and I'm pretty sure that that one is intended to be for high tide spawns. So it's going to be even more claustrophobic when high tide is
Oh
probably
yeah.
going to be a thing,
All
which I
right.
really like. So I'm really curious.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people right off the bat are kind of like wanted to see more changes in Salmon Run. I personally think that the more drastic things they just aren't showing yet, but it's nice to see that the maps are being changed and it's for the better. So of course there's the new mechanic that everyone is incredibly happy with, which is egg throwing.
Ah, yes, yeah, that's going to be it's a big one. Where do I start? Like it's okay. So already I should mention like the way that it combines with current strategies is very interesting because in Samurai there's something we call splits, which it's very simple. Like for example, let's say you have like one scrapper and one stingray spawning. Obviously, you want to have like three people go for the stingray and one have the scrapper take the basket.
Mhm.
That's what we call splits. But with egg throwing, that kind of mixes things up a bit because instead of like having three people go to like a single stinger for all the eggs, you can just have one person go there and have all the eggs being thrown.
Mhm.
However, I feel it's going to be much more nuanced than that because it still isn't optimal to just send one player there to destroy all the eggs because it's going to take like massive ink and it's going to be even slower still than just having three people there. But for example, let's imagine you have, let's say, like a 2v2 split. Like all of a sudden, you can do stuff like instead of having one player go back and forth tries, you can just like have one guy just throw the egg. So it's going to be very interesting, like how it mixes with splits and stuff like that, because it's very detailed the way I see it right now.
Mhm. I mean, to me, it looks like there's just a lot more. I guess just options for people who have to like recall eggs. It doesn't really have to be like you could definitely coordinate it a lot more. To me, it seems like there's a lot more ways to optimize how you get eggs to the basket, and I think that's like interesting for a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing we also even like to do is something called princess mode, where only one guy is allowed to get X,
Mhm.
which it can get really interesting too, and it kind of has their own strategies because of that. And that in particular is it's a bit more of a competitive thing, I guess, because like princess is not really something we really do in casual games, but it does like allow for more strategies and stuff like that.
Mhm. All right.
But yeah, I gotta say, it's hard to say like to what degree like you're gonna implement these act throwing things, which I'm very curious about because, like I said, like the way that it mixes with already being able to send people to multiple places is gonna be very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. All right though. I guess moving on from the egg stuff, something I didn't talk about in my analysis that I probably should is it seems like technically there could be a salmon run spectator mode. So I mean, obviously I'm assuming this would be a good idea, but would you really want to see that, or what would you want to see from a salmon spectator?
Yes, of course. I gotta say something funny actually, because I remember watching the trailer, and one thing I do a lot for some videos is using the spectator to get some like sneaky shots from moving to players one to one.
Yeah.
And it looks very the motion that you get in the PvP spectator looks very similar to the motion you see in the trailer. So it might just be an editing trick, but I'm not sure because it looks very similar.
Yeah, I agree. Like the main one, just the egg toss thing they do at the end looks just like switching between players. Ever since I've been doing more commentating, I've gotten more used to how that looks, and yeah, it is
Exactly.
incredibly similar. Would
And
would
yeah,
mhm.
sorry.
Would spectating Salmon Run come with like major benefits, do you think, for people learning the mode? Like maybe you, instead of just having your POV on like obviously one of your big coordinated sessions with four people talking, maybe like an overhead or switching to specific players could help people, learn the mode more or give just a better way to spectate. Like if we want to do a Salmon Run specific event, that could be casted with its normal spectator mode. So I think it gives the mode a lot of more appeal for people who want to learn it or broadcast it.
Yeah, for sure. Like we already saw like the change it made in Splatoon 1 where we used to have just tournaments where people would just use the stream of someone else.
Oh yeah, Slalom tournaments
uh,
were absolute hell to
yeah.
cast.
And obviously like the not even talking about analyzing because we do like analyze quite often, and doing it from a single point of view is just so much worse compared to having an overhead.
Mhm,
And I would say particularly in Summerrun, in the fact that like awareness is a very big deal in Summerrun because like you have tens like of bosses like everywhere around the map. So
mhm,
awareness is a very big deal. So if you're only limited to just to the single point of view that you have available to you, that it's very hard to like both help players improve, like
mhm.
make them see like what's going on, and just in general like coming up with new strategies. So yeah, spectator, I'm definitely looking forward to that if that's a thing.
Oh, and I also just thought of something. I guess technically this could be listed more as a new feature, but if there was spectator mode, what would you think about a mode of Salmon Run where it's five people and one of them is just an overhead shot caller who can see everything?
Ooh. uh, I guess I'll have to see to what degree um like the more details on what Samurai will be in Splatoon 2, because I gotta say like we're pushing Samurai to the point where almost every player is basically aware of every single boss on the field.
Mhm.
So having a spectator could definitely like benefit. Um,
But right now, it
but
wouldn't have any major advantages. It would more just depend on if it's harder to tell what's going on. But it's too optimized right now to where having an overhead shot caller, while still having some uses, would probably not be a major difference.
not at least for like if we're looking for the top level. If we're looking at more like mid like level new groups, people who
Mhm.
are less experienced, and like I can definitely see that it could be actually very important because
Yeah.
like I said, like awareness is a very difficult thing, so it could actually help them quite a lot at learning the
Ye-
awareness.
Yeah, maybe we could have some Brian Salmon run coaching in Splatoon 3.
Yeah, exactly. Because the spawns in Samuron, they are insanely fast. Like you have, if we're talking about at 8 to 11, which is has level max, you have 10 seconds to deal with three bosses, which is 9x.
Yeah,
That's
that's crazy. Like,
doing
wow.
that for like 100 seconds is insanely fast. So it should not be underestimated. Like the awareness can be a tricky thing. So especially for mid-level like players or newcomers, it could be very interesting actually. I guess.
Mhm. Okay, so we haven't seen anything really from the night waves, or at least so we thought. You noticed a few things that you probably want to point out.
Ah, yeah. We did notice on the map preview, you can see so far gushers, like the gushers where they usually come from, and cannons. Like there are specific spots on the map where like people probably know this where gushers, where the goldie can come out, or where cannon spawns.
Mm,
And we did see those on the map, but unfortunately that is it in terms of like night phase.
mm. Yeah, so it looks like some of the night waves are definitely coming back, but we haven't seen all of them quite yet, so I guess we'll have to wait for that. So there's the new bosses. I of course am a fan because one's like spot zones and one's like tower control a little bit. But I mean, what do you think of them? Do you think they're harder, easier? Do you like how they look? Just general thoughts on those two new bosses.
First thing I guess I should mention is that I like the new approach they're taking because a lot of bosses it's kind of just like just shoot and kill, maybe shoot in the back or something and kill. Like it's very simple, but these are slightly different. Like what is it called, like the flip flop or something?
Yeah.
You have to like paint the zone, which is like painting is not has never been something that you could use to like beat a boss. Which is, I like to see that they're trying to take new approaches.
Yeah, definitely.
Because especially in Summer like a very big thing is DPS, the damage you can do per second, and largely because you just almost every single boss you have to kill is just you just have to shoot to kill it. But this gives a reason for like just heavy paint weapons to also just be more useful.
Yeah, that could help with variety. I haven't seen too much Salmon Run tier list, but I have noticed it tends to be like damage per second and mobility are probably like two of the main factors that I've seen be ranked high.
Yeah, exactly. It is kind of difficult because, to be fair, a lot of the high damage output weapons also have good baiting ability. So it's,
Yeah.
but I like that they're trying to like do new stuff, and same with the fish stick. Like, first of all, amazing name. I don't know what to say
I
honestly,
love the name of the fish stick. It's great.
but yeah, like it is interesting in the fact that it's a static boss. Like it doesn't move, which like static bosses in Samron are interesting because they change up the. Because if everything was like movable, you could just like stay passive the entire game. So having static bosses are good. But this one seems more interesting because it's like usually with flyfish and stingers, they are basically limited to being at the shore. And I think the fish stick seems to be able to spawn this wherever it wants to.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if there's a way to lure it because it could be really useful, but at the same time, if it only spawns really far away, it could be an absolute time crunch to be able to take it down.
Yeah, exactly. And similar to the flip of flopper, it's also more focused around like paint as well. Like it's trying to prevent you from just having paint around where the fish stick lands, which
Mm.
is, I like. Again, I like seeing that they're trying to change things up.
Yeah. Okay, so I gotta bring this up at some point, but specials. So, obviously, we're probably gonna have entirely different specials in Salmon Run, and again, I guess this question can technically fall into brand new features. We know Killer Whale is one of them, and we know Crab Tank is one of them. But I mean, I guess for specials as a whole, is there any two out of the other three you would pick to be in Salmon? Or either way, do you want there to be more than just four specials in Salmon Run? Would you like all the multiplayer specials to be usable in Salmon Run?
I would definitely love to see more specials because I gotta say, playing some run right now, that there's I've discussed it multiple times with people where I'm like, man, imagine having hammer here or something or like bubbles, like it could be very insane. And I imagine the same thing for Splatoon 3, where like some specials, it could be very interesting to see them all in the mode. So I do hope that they bring all the specials there.
Yeah, it seems like such a weird limitation to only have four specials in this mode for some reason. Like that's been one of the main things I've never understood why they don't just let you use more of them.
Yeah, exactly. Especially like once you realize some of the specials like hammer and bubbles, like they're really fun to use and like they're just not in Summer Run. And then you just have bombers, I guess. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
What do you
but
think of like Crab Tank and Whale 5.1 though? The ones we have seen, do they seem to have some uses? I know Whale broke the flyfish guy, and Crab Tank of course seems to be just in general having a ton of uses. Do these seem like stronger, or what are your thoughts on them?
I would say yes and no. The interesting thing about the crab is that there was one point in the trailer where you could see it shooting some like summon it, and the DPS on the thing doesn't seem to be that great. However, the interesting part is that in an earlier trailer, I think the second one we got, you saw it shooting some like ball-like projectile,
Yeah, in the
and I'm
second trailer.
curious. Yeah, that one. I'm curious if you can shoot that into like the baskets of fly fish and destroy them with that.
Mhm. Yeah, that would give it an insane use. I think that would be really cool. I do. Like, fly fish are obviously annoying for a lot of people, but I think making specials, being able to deal with it, is probably a good thing for that. And then
Yeah,
whales seems to be a bit simpler, right?
yeah, yeah. That's basically, I guess, just very similar to the stingray replacement,
Hmm.
just a bit different, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So I guess the only other thing to bring up is what do you think of the Godzilla thing? Do you think it'll be like I've heard some people think like it'll be the only boss in a wave. I guess kind of like Grillers, but only one boss. Like it'll be a super boss thing. Like you'll have an entire wave centered around dealing with it. Or some people saying it'll connect to the story. Do you have any hopes or expectations, or are you just entirely just want to wait and see with no? I have no idea what's gonna happen. I'll go with whatever they do.
I guess I'll go with the last one because it's hard to say what to expect right now. Like, because it definitely it will be different than night waves because like night waves are their own thing. Like you can see that they already exist on the map too. So I'm assuming that it's a separate thing. But
Mhm.
what exactly it is, it's hard to say. But I'm definitely curious, like what it is.
Yeah, I really hope it's like a special if it is like in the base salmon, I hope it's like its own wave thing, but I feel like it might be even more than that, but we'll have to see.
Yeah,
All right. So, that's all the things that we basically saw in the new Salmon Run trailer. So, a lot of stuff confirmed. The mode seems to be going through some interesting changes. But, they could always do more than that. And the biggest thing for me, as someone who got a bit bored and stale of Salmon Run quickly, is customization. I would love to be able to pick the maps you do, the difficulty, maybe customizing the waves, the specials you get. And a lot of that is a thing on land mode only. So it's somewhat there. Do you think Salmon Run should have more customization options, and would you like to see some of that?
yeah, for sure. Like you already mentioned, the fact that this already exists in show and just not like online is it's kind of painful already in the first place.
Hmm.
uh, and like for example, you can do it in like PvP where you can just like go to weekend in any mode and just like walk around and do stuff. But in Summer it could be even more useful in the fact that you can just like let's say you want to practice grillers,
Hmm.
and if you want to do that in Summer it's I don't know the number, but I think it's like a 1% chance that you get grillers in the first place, and you have to like play hundreds of games probably just to get one.
Yeah, there's
And
no
being
way to
able to
lab
just
anything.
yeah, exactly. And if you could just pick both the wave type or this map that you want to practice on, it will make it so much easier to both like just do the things you want to do, and in general just like getting better as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that would make a lot of sense. So I mean, yeah, you're just full on. Give us weapon choices, give us special choices, give us maps, give us everything customization wise, as much as we can get.
Yeah, exactly. Like in ISO, in Soul, you even have the option to replay wave, and if you do that, then it uses the exact same seed that you were playing before with, which is very interesting.
Oh, that's cool. So you can literally
Yeah,
just have a duplicate wave happen in a game.
yeah, exactly. Like the shoal is surprisingly very useful for practice for someone, and it doesn't exist in online, so it is there, but to
They just
just make it available, I
they
guess.
just gotta make it actually something you can use without having to be in a room with like three other people. Wow, four other people. Good job.
Yeah,
Okay.
but cross fingers.
I brought up a thing in customization uh that I wanted to talk about specifically that I think would be a good idea. If you get max salmon run, like if you beat hazard level max, I think you should be able to unlock basically like a FNAF custom night, turning on whatever bosses you want, any type of waves, like really being able to customize specific things, like their difficulty, like grillers at a difficulty of 1, like you could do grillers only, or you could do uh like the hide and seek wave won't appear at all in this game, like a 0 or something. I think the idea of being able to like hyper customize the difficulty, like A, that would be good for practice, but B, I think that could be a reward. Maybe it doesn't have to be for like hazard level max, but like something you could unlock for playing salmon for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. So, are you thinking about just like more than just 3 waves as well, or
Yeah, like maybe you could even turn it up to like more than 3 waves or endless mode. But okay, well, actually, I'll talk about that like after. But more just like difficulty
okay?
settings for bosses and stuff. Like if you want to change what you see and how hard it is, like just kind of as a reward feature, I guess.
Yeah, I would say that would be really nice. As you mentioned, because in overfishing we do keep track of records as well.
Mhm.
And already, what we like to do is we separate them based on the amount of night waves.
Ah, yeah, makes
So
sense.
yeah, so you have like records for 3 night waves, for two, for one, and for zero. And if you could just select, like, for example, I want to have like 2 night waves, or just like you said, like have two grillers or no seeking or whatever, stuff like that. That would make like stuff like ranking those a lot more like easier too. Because the amount of eggs that you can get in night waves and day waves, for example, and even just between night waves themselves, like it's very much different between them.
Yeah,
So
there's a
if you
lot of
could
RNG.
select those, it would be absolutely huge. Yeah.
Okay. I am curious. I guess this is kind of off topic. What's the most amount of eggs that's ever happened in a salmon game? If you have that stat.
Um. Okay. So if we're not including Shoal, because Shoal has been used as well to get records because you can replay waves. But if we're only counting online, it's 273 eggs.
Wow, that's an insane amount. Is Shoal more or less?
Yeah, exactly. The funny thing is as well. Before that, the record was 247. And
Mhm.
most throughout the years, the record has only been increased by like a few anks, like 10 at most. And all of a sudden, like some people got 273, jumping from 247. It's just, yeah,
Wow,
it's
that's
insane.
insane.
Technically, even 300 is possible, but you need to have probably one of the best seats in the game to get
So you'd
that.
have to
But it
have
is
god
possible.
RNG basically.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the limit is probably one of the more interesting limits I actually talk about as well is in day waves. There's a if you have 3 day waves, there's a maximum of 198 golden eggs.
Hmm.
Because the bosses that spawn in day waves it's always the exact same amount if you're playing HLM.
Mhm.
And we've been very close. The closest that we've gotten is 195 golden eggs, which is basically you get every single egg in the game except for three.
So we're very close to like I don't know perfectly. We're very close to fully optimized in terms of the amount of eggs you can get in some of the day waves. That's really cool. I hope you guys hit that someday.
Uh, I hope so as well. I was hoping it was going to happen on the last golden rotation on our Polaris, but it hasn't happened yet. But we've been pushing the limit here. It's very interesting.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I gotta say again, like, imagine if you could just, for example, just select what type wave you would get. I
Mhm.
imagine like those records would be even pushed even further, even
Oh yeah,
faster.
super easily.
So
Uh,
that'd be really interesting.
So something I thought when I saw Salmon right away is I thought there would be an endless mode type thing for it, and that's something we haven't really seen explored whatsoever. So I mean, I guess this is just an endless mode that would gradually ramp up in difficulty, just wave after wave after wave. Do you like that kind of idea, or do you think it doesn't really fit with Salmon Run super well?
I think it would be pretty cool actually, because again, a lot of people they have mastered like HLM to the point where we're getting basically perfect waves already sometimes. So and there's even like this in freelance even there's people that can just get the max level just without even losing a single time. So having an endless wave where it just gets more and more difficult, and especially if you're doing that to groups who are experienced and used to playing with each other, like I can see that. I can see people pushing that really far.
Hmm. Okay, awesome. So I guess now just I'm gonna. What other additions, like anything we haven't gone over, what else do you want to see added to Salmon Run? It could be anything you want at this point. Just what else do you want to see for Splatoon 3 Salmon Run to make it your perfect mode?
I guess one thing if I have to mention something is probably some kind of ranking or some kind, or it's hard to like rank stuff in Summer because it's a difficult thing to do because it's very like randomized and like I guess more chill mode. But um, how to explain it? Like being able to just like right now the ranking in Summer is very basic. Like it even resets your rank to a lower rank most of the time.
Mhm.
But if there was like some kind of ranking like in X ranks, like for example, where you can just have different ranks, that would be a really fun like addition, I think.
Okay, a ranking system would definitely be cool.
Yeah, and I guess well, it might even happen. But one thing I think of is probably different night waves
Hmm.
because some of the night waves are really good. Some of them are, I guess, average. Because for example, grillers like it's very dynamic, like it's very fast paced, and you need to like change your positioning pretty regularly. And then you also have stuff like rush, which like rush is a very cool concept. Like people having just like the 7 minute rushing at you. But if you know what you're doing, like you're basically just standing at one spot for the entire like 100 seconds.
Yeah, I've seen that at higher level bots. It's just up. They're just gonna shoot him for like 90 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. So one thing that I would love to see as well is some kind of new nice wave that is more dynamic than just that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I actually forgot to bring this up. Grisco weapons. Do you want to see any more or any changes on the Grisco weapons?
I would love to see them back for sure. First of all,
Mhm.
I do hope they bring back Crystal Slasher. I know a lot of people don't like it because it's a very tactical weapon. So I
Yeah,
agree
I
it's not
like
easy to
it.
use. All right, good. That's what I like to hear. But because the Grisco Slasher, it's very cool in the sense that you can basically just ignore cycles. Like you can just shoot through even a steelhead and just kill it whenever you want to. So it would be a lot great to see that back, but even more so, I would love to see like different Grisco versions of water weapons. Like just imagine like a Grisco roller or a Grisco bow, even.
Oh yeah, I hope we get like at least one for every weapon class. Also, I don't know if this is like a salmon thing, but like I hate the Grisco umbrella. It's not umbrella. Like, can we get that changed, please?
Yeah, funny thing. Grisco Bella is worse than the majority. Well, maybe not majority, but by far not the best weapon in Summer One, even if you're considering normal weapons.
Oh wow, so it's not even that
Like,
good.
yeah, you could just take a sploosh, for example, and it's gonna be way better than Brella.
Wow.
So the fact that you're just like Viscobella, it's completely justified. Don't worry.
I mean, I think they should just give it like a tent shield that you can just launch every like 5 seconds or something. I don't know, that could be fun.
True.
Like just give it something. Oh, and I guess I have one more question because I just noticed this from watching your VOD. You get super bonuses a ton in Max Hazard. Do you ever struggle at making gear, or does this mode basically just do it for you?
No, I gotta say the fact that I'm doing both Samurai and PvP, like it's a perfect combo because I can literally just like make any gear I want straight away because I have like hundreds of chunks, like 600, 800.
You're hearing
And
it. Well, you heard it here. If you want to make gear sets for free, become a pro at Salmon Run, and you'll get all the ability chunks you want. It's the one
I
way to do
remember
it.
even like subbing in for a tournament at some point, and I was like playing with someone was already like doing anchor, and I was like I don't know playing some Zap or something. And I was like, oh, let me just make some gear real quick, easy.
Yeah, that must be awesome. All right, though. Any like closing thoughts on anything we've talked about, or anything you want to add, just to kind of wrap this up?
Yeah, don't throw your golden eggs in the water.
Yeah, I very much hope they have a feature to prevent that. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me here, Brian. Whether you guys are watching on Twitch or YouTube, you could find his links in the description, or he'll plug them in the Twitch chat real quick. He uploads YouTube content. He's actually, I think you're like 100 away from 15,000 subs, so you better be pushed over that edge pretty soon. You guys need to go sub to Brian. He's an insane player, insane salmon run. Just like, he's a good dude. You can find him on Twitter and on Twitch as well. So, again, I'll take care of all those links, and I'll make this shorter because I talked for too long about this. But thanks for watching, everyone. And yeah, if you want to check out the full interview, it'll be on the second channel. All right, have a good one.
Yeah, and thank you as well for having me. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. I love seeing guys jump down at low tide just knowing it's going to be there.